Well, then you'd better go and get it, the mocking, high-pitched voice on the other end of the line said, and hung up before I had a chance to respond. My eyes, smarting from the sudden blue light of the phone screen, began to water. I had to stop myself from tossing the phone across the room and out the window. One moment, I was in the middle of a wonderful dream where I was flying a jetpack through a forest that also looked like a museum somehow, and now I was back in my room at 2 a.m. answering a prank call and only having 4 more hours to sleep before I had to get up. I gently placed my phone on the nightstand, lay back down, slipped the eye mask back on, and tried to return to sleep, to the forest museum. But sleep wouldn't come. The nagging feeling at the back of my head that counted hours and minutes got worse by the second. My heart began pounding in anticipation of the dreadful morning. My mind was racing with tomorrow's, or more like today's, responsibilities. My head began throbbing, and I groaned to no one in particular. Well, I'm awake already. May as well grab a drink of water. I lurched into the kitchen, eyes barely open, imagining a glass of ice-cold water that would softly sing me back to sleep. I reached for the fridge door handle and almost fell over. I had grabbed air. I rubbed my eyes and opened them fully. The refrigerator wasn't where it always was. Looking around, it wasn't anywhere in the apartment at all. There were sets of parallel scuff marks on the floor, going from the fridge's former placement to the door, and the door was slightly ajar. Did someone steal my entire fridge, then place a prank call to watch me panic? I see you. I know you're here, I shouted to the empty kitchen. I looked out the window for a person looking up at me and laughing, and saw nothing. My wallet and keys were still on the table beside the door. All my cards were accounted for. My passport was still in an envelope under my bed. Why just a fridge? I wasn't even a particularly expensive eater. It contained some week-old fried rice, a third full milk carton, sriracha and Japanese mayo to make the blandest food palatable. Nothing worth stealing. The fridge itself was 4 years old, had busted lights, and made crystals and ice cream. It must be some kind of prank? But no one else had my keys. The only thing to do was to follow the scuff marks. I slipped on some sweatpants and a hoodie and walked out the door to the apartment hallway. It was also covered in scuff marks, but no fridge. Somehow, whoever had dragged the fridge out of the building had also done so without waking up any of my neighbors. I broke into a chuckle. Whoever had pulled this prank on me had apparently hired a cat burglar off the dark web. I knocked on the only door I could hear noise coming from, an action movie on TV playing at full blast. It was answered by a middle-aged woman in a bathrobe and plaid shorts. Hi, did you see or hear a fridge come by here? I mean, someone carrying a fridge? She looked at me and tilted her head quizzically, like how a dog might look at a stuffed animal. Someone stole my fridge, I clarified, but it didn't seem to help. Sorry. She shut the door in front of me. I laughed even harder. Not only was my refrigerator running, I was asking everyone else if they had seen it. Though it was nowhere near April 1st, this was a clever prank indeed. The scuff marks continued a bit outside the building, but I quickly discovered the sidewalk was too rough to properly show them. There was no one out right now. Everyone else was soundly asleep, knowing their fridges were exactly where they always were. Where would I go if I were a fridge? A fridge thief. They couldn't have gone far. Or could they? Maybe the nefarious fridge thieves have loaded it into a van and were halfway across the country by now. There was no telling. I wandered around, clutching my keys like tiny daggers as my eyes darted back and forth. After some nervous searching, I found the telltale trail in the grass patch of an apartment parking lot. The refrigerator was heading uptown, it seemed. Like a ranger on a game reserve, I tracked the refrigerator's footsteps for a whole block, and caught a second set of tracks on the flower bed of a gas station. The thought of asking the store attendants crossed my mind, but I quickly shut it out. I'd accepted I was being watched somehow, on a camera or in person, and I wasn't about to let the prankster have the satisfaction. I buried my head in my hands in confusion and frustration. It was getting colder. Why don't I just call the police? Surely prank or not, this constitutes a crime. What am I doing out here on the street at 3 in the morning? I pocketed my phone and dialed 911 as I walked back home. 911, what's your emergency? Someone stole my fridge. I was heading back to my bed for another 3 hours of tossing and turning when I smelled the special blend of sauces that made my fried rice unique. I had no recipe for it. I just always knew the exact proportions of oyster sauce, soy sauce, rice vinegar, and sesame oil that made it taste the way it did. No one could make it but me, and I could smell it right now coming from up the block. "Sir?" the responder asked, but I couldn't respond. All the chill I had been feeling disappeared, replaced with warm rage. I hung up, put my phone back in my pocket, and clutched my keys tightly, following the scent. As I walked uptown, the scent got stronger and stronger, even in the cold wind. I followed it another block before it became strongest outside the cage of an overgrown baseball field. A cage. "I'm not trapped in here with you," I thought triumphantly. "You're trapped in here with me." I rehearsed what I'd say to the fridge thieves before swiftly dispensing justice. The lock on the cage door was broken, so I slipped right in. My fridge sat between first and second base. I spotted my kettle, which had caused me many a circuit breaker-induced blackout, and my portable AC unit, which turned on and off for reasons known only to it, as well. They were surrounded by dozens of other appliances, none else mine, and they were all going on and off rapidly with no visible power source. The kettle was smoking, the AC unit was beeping, microwave spun, vacuum sucked. As the cage door swung shut, all of the appliances abruptly went off, like they all ran out of charge at the same time, and I froze. Am I interrupting something? I picked up a crushed soda can from the ground and tossed it at my fridge. Its door popped open to catch them and closed. All the lights were on, even the formerly broken one. Cautiously, I approached it like I was approaching a wounded wild animal. "Hey, buddy," I found myself saying. "Let's get you home now, okay?" I patted it on the side and the door opened again. Is this a good thing? Does my fridge like me? I stuck my head inside to see if it still had the same contents. It did. The door swung shut, the metal edge striking me across the forehead. "Ow! What the fuck?" I said out loud. I stumbled backwards and tripped over a microwave I hadn't seen before. I landed on the dusty, cold gravel, bruising my ass and my ego. An electric fan with a busted cage swung towards me and began spinning. It fell onto my arm, cutting it to the bone. I cried out in pain, but it was drowned out by an unplugged TV blaring static. The fridge, my fridge, was now looming over me. I dialed 911 on my phone again and was met with the same mocking, high-pitched voice from the call. "Is your refrigerator running? Well, you'd better go get it." I laughed for the last time that morning. At least I wouldn't have to wake up early anymore. That was Is Your Refrigerator Running? For more stories like this, visit disconcertingtales.wordpress.com. See you next time.